Hi everyone. I've been going on live quite often these days because I just want to play music. But I thought that today I would start something new. I've got a new angle, new strings, and hello, my name is RahelMusic. Hi Andy, good to see you. We're enjoying each other's videos, it's really cool. So today I'm going to do something new. Today I'm going to talk about songwriting and what it's like to have music in your life. But before I do that, I will start with a song that I wrote. And I wrote it in 1997. 1997. It's not the first song that I wrote. The first song that I ever wrote, I believe, was in 1980-ish, something like that. And I say I wrote, and many songwriters say that they wrote their songs. Some of us did sit down and consciously come to the page and come to the instrument and say, consciously try and write a song. But many of us, there's a wonderful book called Musicians in Tune. I lent it to someone and never got it back. And it's a signed copy by Boyd, not Patty, her sister. The one, Patty went out with George Harrison, but her sister became a psychologist. And because of her access to all of the super musicians, she was able to interview them and find out about their songwriting process. And it was very interesting. If you can find it, Musicians in Tune by Boyd, B-O-Y-D. She's British. And what you find out is that many musicians don't feel that they wrote their own songs. A Native American poet I once read, and I apologize, I don't remember his name. I don't have access to the source. But he said, the art is out there, the poems are out there, the music is out there. It's our job to catch it. The songs are out there, to catch them and bring them into this world and then to share them. So I really believe that that's what happens to us as songwriters. We're really song catchers, as he labeled it, song catchers. We capture the song that's out there, we capture the art that's out there, we capture what's out there, and we bring it through us to you. We're just a channel, we're just a vessel. What came first for me was poetry. Well, actually, music was always there. Music was always in my life. My mom loved music, my dad loved music. My mom, the first instrument she taught me was piano. I didn't like it because I couldn't coordinate both hands. She sent me to music school. I went to the Longy School of Music in Cambridge as a young child. I learned solfège, singing. I learned recorder playing. I learned a little bit about piano, but my piano lessons involved me, my teacher playing music and me learning how to conduct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And it really got me to be a really good rhythm guitarist in the end. I learned guitar at age 14 when my brother rejected it. And I decided, could I play that? But before that, I also learned the flute. I wanted to play the saxophone, but in my day, apparently they were giving the men the saxophones and the girls the flutes. So in 5th grade, I learned the flute. I did not like it either. So what I'm saying is that as a musician, you go through many, many phases and stages. You might try out a lot of different instruments before you come to, 23 years ago, wow. Before you come to the one that really speaks to you. The one you finally master. I finally mastered the guitar. I mastered it as far as I have come to today. I have much more to master. But back to songwriting, songcatching. So, yes, some of us come to the page like writers come to the page, we write. I don't know if writers are actually doing their own work, or lots of institutions, and I don't know if writers are actually doing their own work or if they're also catching. But I really feel that songwriting is really song catching. So let me start with a song, and then I'm going to continue to talk about this song. I'll just sing the song first. And I've tried to get a new angle. So people who are guitar players, both in Facebook and both in Instagram, you can see what my fingers are doing, both my right and my left hand. This is in the key of D. It's got a run that goes down, C, B, D. It's really very popular with folk singers, folk song, or any kind of music. You'll hear these kinds of bass runs, as I call them. So this song is called Where I'm Bound, and I'll talk about it after I play it. So here we go. I am not afraid when life turns me around. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of the sight and the sound. I am not afraid. I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive, I want to live, I can love. Lord, I can give, and I can't help but go to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Traveling on to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. I am not alone in the circle of life. I am not alone. I am not alone in my struggle and my strife. I am not alone. I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive, I want to live, I can love. Lord, I can give, and I can't help but go to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Traveling on to where I'm bound, 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 bound. Hello. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. I decided to do a little bit of a series on songwriting. Songcatching, we'll call it, now that you know what songcatching is about. So this song is called Where I'm Bound. I received it in 1997. That was 1 year I was living in Israel, and I had been there 21 years, and 1 year before I set out and changed my life in 1998. So this was about a year and a half before that, before I actually changed countries again. I was born and raised in America. I was born in Ohio, in Columbus, and my brother was born there, and then we moved to Massachusetts. The situation was not easy for my parents, who are Jewish, and they had a little bit of trouble finding a job then, but my father was fortunate to find a job in Massachusetts, in the Air Force, I believe, and he moved us, we all moved to Lexington, Massachusetts, where we grew up. We had a pretty good life. I can't really complain. There was a divorce in the process. The divorce was difficult, and perhaps that's why I became a musician. There's always something good that comes out of the bad. What my response to the divorce was to withdraw a little bit into myself. I learned the guitar at age 14, I said, and I went into my room, and at the time, we had to just listen. We didn't have electronics. We had to listen very carefully to the music. I had to figure out how the notes sounded when I put my fingers in certain positions, and I listened very carefully. We had a record player, LP vinyls, and we had to write everything down by hand and listen very carefully and stop and play the thing over again and over again and over again until we got it. Or maybe we learned it from somebody else, but that's how I did it. I would listen and play the song over and over and over again, write it down, try and figure out the chords myself by listening. Back then we had a good ear, before we had electronic tuners and internet to tell us how to play. So I learned something like, this. That was Paul Simon's version of Scarborough Fair. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Sorry about that on Instagram. I got one of those alerts, and I hope it will stop, so it won't pause the broadcast. Anyway, I was talking about learning from ear, and so my childhood was spent in my room listening to a lot of music. At the time, there was a folk musical revival. I listened to Jamie Brockett, great guitarists and folk singers, song catchers, James Taylor, Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, and who else? Mary McCaslin, Tom Rush, Crosby, Stills and Nash, great songwriters of the time in the folk world. Bob Dylan. Joan Baez was out there, but I really was not impressed. Not one of my favorites. Sorry, Joan. And Eric Anderson. Some really good folk singers out there and song catchers. So I learned a lot by listening. I also took guitar lessons for a year before that, of course. I learned from a wonderful teacher who studied at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and he was my private teacher, so I learned very well about music from the Berklee School of Music method. I learned theory. As I said, my mother sent me to the Laundry School of Music, where I learned music theory, solfege, all sorts of wonderful things about music. And I really highly encourage, if you want to be a musician, please go to school and learn. Don't just learn off of YouTube videos and things like that. Learn theory. Learn to be a real musician, because when you work with other musicians, you need to know music. Seriously. Anyway, that's my plug for learning music. Be a real musician. And so I lost my track. Okay, so that's a bit about my past, as though I was getting private lessons from a wonderful teacher. I studied for about a year until it got more difficult. I didn't want to learn those bar chords. Eventually I did. I didn't want to learn jazz chords. Eventually I did. But I did sit with the vinyl recordings a long time. That was my refuge, was music. So much later, Time Passes By, which is the name of my album, my first CD that I made solo. You can find it at RahelMusic.com, RahelMusic.com. music.com. And I started writing poetry after that. I guess I was a bit of a hermit, a bit of a withdrawn person, very shy. And so I expressed myself through music and through poetry. At first through poetry. I met some very inspiring people, other students, other peers, who influenced me, inspired me, and I wrote poetry, which if you go to my website, there is a page where you can see some of my poetry. It's much more personal than my songs have turned out to be. The songs and the poetry, yeah. So you can find out about that. So after that, I traveled a little bit. I learned from other musicians I met on the way. And I ended up in Israel, where in 1976, I fell into a group of musicians and I found my identity as a musician. I came out of the closet, thanks Bruce Brill. I came out of the closet, thanks to Bruce Brill, who put me on the stage as a banjo player. I knew all of about, 5 or 10 songs on the banjo. I spent most of my act tuning the banjo. And then I played 3 songs, and that was the beginning of my career as an coming out musician. Out as a musician. So I played many cover songs, bluegrass bands, folk duos and trios, and found many very good musicians in Israel. You wouldn't believe the wonderful musicians that are in Israel. Such talent. I learned so much from them. And you can hear some of that music online also. Uva Blow was a trio with Terry and Victor and me, and Tofa'ah, unbelievable women's band. I don't know, it's all there. Again, Betsy Rosenberg, Don Sloan, people that I worked with, they were people that I didn't actually play with, but they were amazing musicians, still are. So I highly encourage you to go find out what's going on in Israel one day, musically. Anyway, again, I digress. Songcatching. So I used to sit in my room. I had blue walls, and I had lots of time on my hands. At that time, the cost of living was quite low, and I could support myself only teaching 10 guitar students a week. My rent was only $40 a month, and so I had lots of time. And I would sit and look at the walls. They were blue, I remember, and I would kind of sit there with the guitar in my hand, and whatever came out, and then words would come out, and I would just record them. I learned that from Victor. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Victor Azus of Atraf, and just Victor, you were great. Taught me a lot about preserving. Just go with a tape recorder, go with a pad and paper and pen, and just write down whatever comes out. And he called it experiments. I have cassettes and cassettes full of experiments. music and tunes and little lines and little bits and little rhythms and little chord progressions that came out. And later I can access them, I can go back and develop them and evolve them, and many of my songs turned out that way. But many of the songs just came to me complete. The best ones came to me complete. So as far as song catching goes, I want to talk a little bit about this song, Where I'm Bound. I am not afraid when life turns me around. I am not afraid of the sight and the sound. I am not afraid. Life brings us along, and we confront many, many new experiences, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, challenging, whatever. Eventually, in this song, I learned not to be afraid. When life changes, when you go through transitions, it's because you need to grow. It's because you need to move. Now, I never thought about the songs that I was given, the songs that I received. Many of the songs, they were messages to me, and I had to live through many life experiences. Hi, Rachel. I had to live through many life experiences before I even understood what those songs meant. I would just sing them. I remember once when I went solo, I performed, and somebody came to me after, and he asked me, what is that song all about? And I said, well, first of all, I was shocked that somebody actually wanted to ask me a question about that, and I didn't know how to answer it because I hadn't really thought about the song that I was singing. I received the song and I just sang it, and it was messages. For me, my songs have been messages to me, how to live life, what's going to come. Not really premonitions, but after I've lived life for a certain amount of time, I go back and I go, oh, that's what that song is about. So as I'm explaining this song, Where I'm Bound, it starts off by saying, I'm not afraid when life turns me around. I'm not afraid of the sight and the sound. I'm not afraid. So in the beginning, maybe I was afraid. But when you see that something always good comes after that, even though we think it's bad, something good, you can always find something good in it. So the first part, I'm not afraid when life turns me around. The refrain, the chorus, I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive, I want to live. I can't help but go to where I'm bound. Where I'm bound, traveling on to where I'm bound. Amen to that. Thank you. Can't help but go to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Traveling on to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Before I go on to the next verse, I like to tell this story about this song. Tom Paxton is an amazing folk singer, songwriter, songcatcher. He's very popular in the folk world. Many of his songs you probably know if you hear them. And he wrote a song that says, I can't help but wonder where I'm bound. I can't help but wonder where I'm bound. How many years do we spend wondering who we are, where are we going, what are we doing in this world, where are we bound? Well, this song came to me, and it had nothing to do with Tom Paxton's song, actually, but it asked the question. It doesn't ask the question. It stands confident and says, I can't help but go to where I'm bound. I'm going to travel on to where I'm bound. I'm not afraid when life turns me around. I embrace A heavenly face. Just somebody, your own face, whatever. A simple smile. Do you know how amazing a smile is? Another story. My daughter, when she was 1.5, 2 years old, 2.5, God bless her, she used to just make friends by looking them straight in the face, like this. She'd look at them, come close to them, and then what would she do? Smile. She smiled, and they became friends. When you look at people, when they are just sort of standing still or whatever, they're just themselves, they have many facial expressions, but when they smile, isn't that the heavenly face? That's the heavenly face. A smile. Almighty grace that gives us. God gives us that ability to smile, and when we smile, our face lights up. I mean, come on. You know what? When I was in 5th grade, and then later when I was in middle school and high school, thank you, George. George wrote in my yearbook one year, "You've got the best smile." And I never thought about it before until he wrote that, and I thought, wow, I smile? What are you talking about? Smile? And throughout my life, people tell me that I've got a great smile, and here in South Korea, my student gave me a Korean name, Miso, which means smile. So I guess I'm a smiling, happy person, I guess. Somewhere along the way, I've decided to be happy and joyful, no matter what happens. So, I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive. Well, I'm still learning to forgive. That's a tough one, but I want to live. When my mother was sick with cancer and multiple sclerosis and various things, I remember she came out of the hospital and, she was wheelchair bound. She went through various stages of illness that incapacitated her and finally took her life. But I remember she said one thing. She said, I want to live. I want to live. She loved life. She wanted to live. Baruch Dayan Emet. May her memory be a blessing. I forgive. I want to live. I can love. Do we know anything about love? But we know that we have the ability to do it. And I've loved many people. I love to fall in love. I love to fall in love. Man, do I ever love that first love feeling. Later, it kind of, you got to get into a relationship and then you really learn about love. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Lord, I can give. Love is about giving. When you give to somebody else, you learn about love. The Jewish remedy for depression, or the healing remedy, is to, if you're a depressed person, give to somebody else. Start giving of yourself, and it'll take you right out of that depression, man. Will it ever? That's the best cure for depression, I'll tell you that. And helping someone else, giving of yourself to someone else. We learn to love through giving. And then we have to learn to receive it back. And for me, that's really the hardest thing. I have a really easy time giving love. But receiving love from somebody else, that's kind of hard. So, I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive, let's work on it. I want to live this life, it's short. I can love, Lord, I can give, and I can't help but go to where I'm bound, traveling on to where I'm bound. So we're going to go confidently with all of those things, knowing that even from the bad comes the good. We're still learning, we're evolving, we're growing. I'm 66 on the 27th of this month. Another week and a half, I'll be 66 years old. I can't believe it when I say it. I've kind of learned to accept it. I can't believe that I've reached that age. My dad's 94. Unbelievable. And he's still living the life. He's on his, he's got a girlfriend after his second wife passed away and my mother passed away, his first wife. He's now with his third love of his life, and he's 94. She's in her 80s, and love, you just keep loving, just love. So here's the next verse. I am not alone in the circle of life. I am not alone. I am not alone in my struggle and my strife. I am not alone. I am not alone in the circle of life. Life is a circle. I'm working with a dancer now. Hi, Alessandro. I love you. He's got your brain, your depth, your understanding of life at such a young age of 24, 25. It's unbelievable. I learned so much from you, Alessandro. Totally. And I'm not alone in the circle of life. We talk about the life being a circle. We go from year to year and we circle around, and after that year we found something else. In Judaism we also talk about it being a spiral. As you grow to higher and higher levels the more you come around again, and the more you've learned and the more you've digested and integrated into your life. Hopefully you've learned and you're going to the next level. We are going from level to level until our time is up and we go back to the source. So I am not alone in the circle of life. Sometimes I feel alone, like right now I live alone. I've been living alone for a while. I do many things alone. Some people are afraid to do things alone. Don't be afraid. Do it. Just bloom and live life. My mom wanted to live life. Just live, You only live once, they say, YOLO. I'm not alone. You're never alone. You can have faith. Many people find faith, and that carries them through. They don't feel alone that way. I have a strong faith. Not religion, but faith. Faith. I have faith that there's something greater than us that is with us all the time. I won't go to that discussion. That's another discussion, but I'm not alone in the circle of life. I'm not alone in my struggle and my strife. We all struggle. We all have strife. We all have difficult times. Some people have worse difficult times than others. I can't say what's wrong or right. It's not my place. Eastern philosophy will say it's their destiny. They need to live their lives, learn their lessons. Even many religions believe that. Even alternate thought processes, alternate energetic healers, whatever. We all believe that there's a circle, a Gilgul in Hebrew. Some people believe it's a reincarnation, whatever. Anyway, we're not alone in the circle of life. We're not alone as we struggle through it, as we strive and try to get by. We meet people along the way. Embrace them. Embrace them. You know how many people music has introduced me to? If it weren't for music, talking about going back to the original topic of being a songwriter, songcatcher, if it weren't for this guitar, if it weren't for music, I would not have had so many joyful, amazing experiences in my life and met so many interesting, amazing, wonderful, beautiful, complicated, and yet so exciting, and yet so knowledgeable, and yet so thrilling. And I'm so grateful that I have music in my life, and that has been a gateway for me to experience life in a very special way, to experience the joy of living, the joy of meeting people. So we're not alone. So I am going to end this broadcast. This is the first in a series I hope to be. I can figure out how to do it, of introducing you to songwriting, song catching, to music, the joy of music, all of those things. And through my life, I hope that I can share something that will be meaningful in your life. And through my songs, as I get to understand them by sharing them with you, I hope that you will also gain something from them. This song, Where I'm Bound, can be found on my CD called Time Passes By Anne Rachel, as I was called back then. It was the first solo CD I came out with. It came out in the year 2000. Has many wonderful songs on it. You can find it at my website, www.rahelmusic.com. You can click on downloads. You can download it there. And please download the whole album, or at least one song, Where I'm Bound. Now that you know what it's all about, I hope it speaks to you in a special way. And I hope you enjoy the music. It's basic folk music, folk picking style, finger picking. And by the way, for anyone who's looking, I have a thumb pick. I use a thumb pick to accent and get more sound out of the bass notes. That's why I use it. Some people grow their fingernails longer and use their thumb. I use a thumb pick. It's kind of a folky thing to do, I guess, but I felt the most comfortable that way. And guitar players, you can always tell who they are, because the left hand has no nails and the right hand has long nails. So that's a little bit about guitar playing. So I'm using finger picking styles I learned as a child when I was in my room learning from record players, vinyls, and the wonderful folk musicians that I talked about earlier. So I will say goodbye to you for this broadcast. Thank you for joining me. The song is Where I'm Bound, available on Time Passes By Anne Rachel. The orange cover, the beautiful photograph snaps by my nephew Zoe Toby, who is also a wonderful songwriter in his own right. ZoeToby.com, ZoTobi.com. Check him out. It's pretty good. Hey Zoe, it's a plug for you. All right, I'm going to sing the song one more time, and I say goodbye for now. Each time I will introduce you to a new song. Key of D. I'll put the lyrics in the box on Facebook and hopefully here also on Instagram. I have a tendency to play too fast. I am not afraid when life turns me around. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of the sight and the sound. I am not afraid. I embrace a heavenly face, a simple smile, almighty grace. I forgive, I wanna live, I can love. Lord, I can give, and I can't help but go to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Traveling on to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. I am not alone in the circle of life. I am not alone. I am not alone in my struggle and my strife. I am not alone. I embrace Rahel. Almighty grace, I forgive. I wanna live, I can love. Lord, I can give, and I can't help but go to where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Traveling on to where I'm bound, where I'm bound, where I'm bound, where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Hi, Ugly. You came in a little bit late, so anyway, I am grateful and thankful and bless all of you. Peace to everybody, all of that good stuff. Just don't postpone joy. Shiviti Laranai Kategdi. I keep faith, I keep the source God in front of me. Don't postpone joy. Thank you for joining me for this is Songcatcher number 1. I hope this will be a series, and the song is Where I'm Bound. Take care, everybody. I'll see you later. End it. Bye.